Hey guys, in this video I'm going to cover 3 cameras that I believe are the best Sony cameras that you can get your hands on that are great for beginner photographers in 2023. Now, when it's all said and done, there are several important factors that make a great beginner camera. And the first part of that is going to be ease of use, right? You want a camera that is going to be easy to use, that has a good user interface. The menus are not super confusing. You want something that is going to be not overly complex, right? And then also you want something that's going to be affordable. So beginner cameras, I believe, should be reasonably priced as well, and maybe something a little bit more expensive if you want to splurge a little bit, right? But I think that if you're someone who's just getting started in photography, you definitely want to have access to something that is affordable, that is also of high quality. You also want something that's versatile. And when I say versatile, I mean a camera that does have interchangeable lenses. I think that if you're serious about getting started with photography, you should avoid any camera that does not have interchangeable lenses, like whatsoever. Like, don't get a camera that you cannot swap the lenses out. It just does not make sense. Being able to do that is going to take your skill set to another level, and being able to do that is going to introduce a level of skill that you're not going to be able to exercise with a camera that just has a fixed lens. Got to have great image quality as well, right? What's the point in getting started with photography if the images are just not, good resolution, or have a lot of noise, or you can't, use it in different lighting conditions. So you definitely don't want to have anything like that. But you also want a camera that has some great features as well. When it comes down to features like in-body image stabilization, or maybe a powerful autofocus system, something that has like face and eye detection. Those things are going to be very important when it comes down to selecting a camera like that. And then finally, I think that you have to have a camera that is both durable and also reliable. You don't want to have something that is just one or the other, right? Because that's just not going to be conducive to you using it, right? Because when it comes down to being a beginner photographer, you're going to be using your camera like probably every day in so many different situations and different types of weather and all kinds of different scenarios. And so you want something that is both, again, reliable and also durable. And so the cameras that I'm going to talk about today are all those things and more, of course. But I think that at the core, that's something that a beginner camera should definitely embody, and these cameras definitely do that. So the first camera should not be a surprise if you're not new here on this channel. It's the Sony A6400. This is a camera that I actually really like. It's the camera that really introduced me into the Sony ecosystem as well, and it's also for good reason. This is a really great camera overall. It's a camera that you just can't go wrong with. The Sony A6400 is just a great beginner camera. I mean, overall, you have a lot of powerful features when it comes down to taking photos, but also if you want to take some video, this is also a great sort of hybrid camera as well. It has a great user-friendly interface. I know the menu can be a little bit convoluted on this camera, but it's actually not so bad if you take the time to kind of go through them. You get real-time eye autofocus and tracking, which I think is something that is very important for learning how to take pictures, especially if you're taking portraits and things like that. You want to be able to effortlessly take those photos and not have to worry, are you getting sharp photos? Are you getting shots that are in focus? And then of course, it's an APS-C camera as well. So you're going to get 24 megapixels and you're going to get some pretty high resolution images as well, which is something that I think is going to be very important. The autofocus on this camera is fast as well, and I think that it's definitely no slouch when it comes down to that. You're also going to get 4K video recording, so if that's something you're into, you can shoot 4K, and that's actually what I use this camera for a lot, for like YouTube and things like that. It does have a tilting touchscreen LCD. It's not fully touchscreen, but it's touchscreen in all the ways that you're probably going to want it to be as well. And I really love that screen because it tilts up. Now that can be something that's controversial. Some people don't like that, but I actually do. I like it. You can also customize your buttons and things like that and really tailor it to, your user preferences. And I think that's also something that's important when it comes down to getting into photography, being able to not only learn and understand and know your way around your camera, but also the capability to customize it a little bit, I think is also really nice. Also, you get a great lens selection as well. Sony has a beautiful range of lenses that you have access to, whether it's a Sony lens or a third-party lens like Sigma or Tamron. You have some really great options, and that's going to be great because you're going to be able to purchase the camera, right? And then also have some money left over to get some really nice lenses, and that's going to be really important when it comes down to learning how to use your camera, exploring different focal lengths and things like that, which are really important to learning photography. And so overall, the value for money, I think the A6400 offers a great balance, right? Because you get a lot of features, the price is great, And you know, honestly, you have access to a lot of lenses, and I think that that is really what it comes down to. So overall, this camera, I really love it, and I think it's a great option for anybody who's looking to get into photography. And you can buy it brand new at a pretty reasonable price, or you can buy it used as well. And I use like MPB to get used gear. I'll leave a few links below if that's something you're interested in, but you can also get a great deal for a used body as well. So just keep that in mind. Now, the next camera I'm going to talk about is the Sony ZV-E10. I think this is also a great option for anybody who is really getting into photography as well. And this one is a little bit different from the Sony A6400, although I do feel like there are a lot of similarities. But one of the biggest differences is that you're not going to find the viewfinder because it does not have a viewfinder. And that can be something that I feel like it could be something that might worry you or trouble you a little bit depending on who you are. But I do feel like that it's not something that is going to make or break whether or not this is a great camera or not, because honestly, when I'm shooting even portraits and things like that, I find myself looking more at the back of the LCD screen more often than actually looking through the viewfinder. So I feel like that's not something that is a real deal breaker. But overall, this is a great camera for anybody who's really getting into photography. Overall, this camera was designed and built for bloggers and content creators, so it's made with, you know, someone like that in mind. So there's a lot of features packed into this as well. So if you are not only into photography but also into some other things, this camera has a lot of other features packed inside that I think that you're gonna really like. It's also very lightweight, right? So very similar to the A6400. It's also very compact. It's, you know, something that you can take around with you anywhere because it's small and compact. And then also it has a really friendly user interface as well. And I think that the interface is something that, again, is great in this camera. It's intuitive. The controls are easy to find. But you also have access to, you know, real-time autofocus, eye autofocus and tracking, which I think is really important to developing and learning how to take photos as a photographer, because, you know, who has time for, you know, all that guesswork, right? It's just going to be phenomenal when it comes down to that. Now, when it comes down to the images that you're going to get out of this camera, it is a 24.2 megapixel APS-C sensor on this camera, right? So again, you're going to get high quality images, and, you know, you can also, again, shoot 4K video if you want to. So it's really a really powerful hybrid camera, honestly. The touchscreen is the LCD is touchscreen as well, and so it can actually be rotated and tilted in different angles, which is going to help you when it comes down to getting selfies, or maybe if you want to take some interesting you know, portraits or self-portraits, you can actually use that feature, which I think is going to be great. But overall, it's going to be helpful for you to get some creative shots that you probably wouldn't otherwise be able to do without that sort of swivel out screen. So something to keep in mind as well. But overall, the ZV-E10 just offers really great balance when it comes down to features and also the price. The price is actually a little bit lower than the A6400 brand new, which makes it a really great cost-effective sort of choice for beginners, right? But when it comes down to the build quality compared to A6400, it's a little bit more plasticky, and so it's not going to be as durable as the A6400. So just keep that in mind if you do go with this option. But again, you get access to all the same Sony E-mount lenses and all the advantages we just talked about a second ago as well. So overall, this is a great option too, especially for somebody who is, again, into photography, but also dabbles in vlogging and maybe some video production and things like that. Somebody who is just kind of in, you know, all those different arenas, and somebody who's dabbling or is really starting to get into photography, I think that this is a great camera for them. And of course, next is the Sony A6700, which is also a really, really great option. And honestly, in a lot of ways, I think that this camera is probably the absolute best camera on this list. It costs a little bit more than the other ones, but really the features and capabilities packed into this is just something that you cannot get in the other two cameras that we just talked about. It does have 5-axis in-body stabilization as well, which is something that you don't get with the other cameras, which is just great. It's phenomenal, right? You also have access to high capacity Z series batteries, which I have in my Sony A7R3s, and they just last a long time and they're great. So I can't imagine how it's going to be in this A6700, but you're going to get those features. It's a 26 megapixel camera as well. And again, just like the other ones, if you dabble a little bit in video, just know that you do get that 10-bit recording of 4K video. Yes, it's like 10-bit 422, and it's actually downsampled from 6K video to 4K, so the quality is going to be super amazing as well. One of the other things as well is that, you know, again, you're getting that access to all those Sony E-mount lenses, which is phenomenal, and also you're getting access to a really easy to use menu system. It's just a really great camera overall. It does have a viewfinder as well that is actually pretty good quality and easy to use. I mean, it's a fully touchscreen LCD as well. And also one of the things I noticed about it is that even the audio on it, just out of the body, like if you're taking video, it's really good. It's surprisingly good. I honestly can't believe it. But when it comes down to the features, the capabilities that this camera has, when it comes down to the longevity of this camera as well, I think that this one takes a cake because it's a newer camera. You get newer technology in this one. It's going to last you a lot longer. And some of the features and capabilities are just something that you can't get in the other camera. The in-body stabilization is going to really help you when it comes down to getting some extra crispy shots as well. It's just a beautifully designed camera, and honestly, it's great. The build quality is superb. The way that the grip is, it's more comfortable than the A6400 as well. It's just something that I think that if you have the money to splurge on, you're going to be extremely happy that you did, because it's just a great camera. It's just a really great camera, and it's going to last you long enough to learn photography fully, get good at it, get some paid gigs out of it, not have to worry about whether or not it's durable or not. And then also when you're ready to take that next step, if you want to go into the full frame world, you're going to be able to do that comfortably, because this camera is just going to be really pushing the bounds of what an APS-C camera is and what it's capable of. And that's why I believe that this one is absolutely the best camera on this list for a beginner, if you can actually afford it. If you cannot, I think that the A6400 is probably the second best option, and then I would say the Sony ZV-E10. But that's just kind of how I rank them. But what are your thoughts when it comes down to some of the best Sony cameras out there for beginners? I don't think that there's a whole lot of options out there for beginner photographers from Sony that, you know, from a cost perspective, right? But what are your thoughts? So go ahead and leave some comments below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Also, if you haven't already and you like this video, definitely hit the like button. And of course, subscribe, hit that notification bell for more videos just like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.